All right. Well, look here, another Friday, and I'm hanging out with my friends, Dr. Jackie Moore and Dennis Sawyer. We've given Sonya Williams. My gosh, I'm already messing. I'm already morphing Sonya into Dr. Jackie. But we've given Sonya the day off. I think she might be out taking care of business. And we never let business get in the way of the taping. And so here we are, guys. Another edition of Fuel, again, meaning finance, unity, empowerment, legacy. So good morning to you both. How are you?
Wonderful. Good morning.
Doing fantastic. Good morning, everyone. And Mac and Dennis, yes.
Fabulous, fabulous. Well, we're not going to prolong things because when we had our little private chat last week after our taping, we determined that we would start with the subject matter of compound interest. And because I have my great professionals online with me, I'm really going to let this be a Dennis and Dr. Jackie takeover, and you guys just roll with this in whatever direction you want to go. But just for the consumer like myself, just give us, just to begin with, an overview of what compound interest is and foundationally what it means to us.
Wow. Thanks for pigeonholing me, Matt. Take such a broad subject and just make me just talk about one thing. Thank you very much. But in truth, Mac, compound interest is one of the things that most of us pay very, very little attention to. One of the main reasons is because nobody else pays attention to it, but the banks and the car dealers and the mortgage company and the credit card company pay very close attention to compound interest, compounding, the power of compounding. So we want to break it down as much as possible to the everyday consumer, because a lot of times we think these things don't affect us. We don't think that the Fed rate affects us. We don't think that the inflation rate really affects us. We just don't know. But if you take a penny, just a penny, and double it every day for 31 days. So here's the question to you. What would you rather have? $100,000 in 30 days or a penny doubling every day for 31 days, 30 days, 31 days? And most of us would take that $100,000 and run. I could think of, a new car I might want to buy, or, one of my mortgage payments I might want to put in a little early, my vacation trips. I think last year, I was in Israel. I did the Walk of Tears, but those trips aren't free. So that $100,000 could be spent amongst many, many, many different things. So think about that. What would you rather have? $100,000 in 30 days or a penny doubling every day in 30 days? Well, I say 31 days, just so I can make the numbers even grander. So I sat here with my computer and I charted it out. And for those of us who took the 100,000, more power to you. Because if you find the right compounding vehicle, you could turn that 100,000 into maybe another 100,000 if you're lucky in 30 days. That's a very short period of time, and it doesn't take advantage of the time value of money. But that penny doubling every day for 31 days ends up being about $11 million.
Oh my God.
Wow. $11 million is like $110,000.
Oh my
You can
gosh.
help out 100 of your friends make $100,000. So how do we start? How do we apply it to our lives. Well, I'll start, Dr. Jackie, if it's okay, because I want you to talk about the after effects of compounding. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Okay, so let's start off with Albert Einstein. Hopefully you guys have heard him. He's been attributed to his story that he won the Nobel Peace Prize, and they give you a check. Well, most mathematicians and politicians, well, not politicians, but mathematicians and college professors don't make a lot of money. So he was trying to figure out how to make his money last for the rest of his life. Whoa. So in order for the money he received to last for the rest of his life, he'd either have to reduce his expenses, depending on what he got, or live a life, a very simple life to make it last for the rest of his life, because we never know when that day or time is going to come. Or he can come up with an equation, since he's a mathematician, that shows him how long that money is going to last. So the name of the equation actually is, or the names, it's got a couple names, the rule of 72 or the law of compound interest. Now, in my previous life, I was an engineer, and I sat down and I tried to seek out this equation, and it is a very, 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 very long equation. So once I finished with that, I said, oh my gosh, there's got to be something else. So actually, Albert came up with a very simple way of checking things out and seeing how long your money lasts. So he says, if you take the number 72, yes, just the number 72, and divide it by whatever interest rate you are getting. Okay, so banks, maybe they're doing 1%. Your mortgage, maybe it's 2%, whatever. But you divide into 72, and that tells you how many years it will take for that money to double. So at 1%, 72 divided by 1 leaves you with 72. That means at 1%, it will take 72 years for your money to double. And like I said, at 1%, it will take 72 years for your money to double. So if you're 72 right now, your money's not going to double. If you're 1 year old, you have to be 72 before your money doubles. So I had to find out for myself, Matt, what's my savings account like? So I went to my bank and I said, hey, what's my savings account interest rate? They said, Mr. Sawyer, they call me Mr. Sawyer because I got more than $100 in my account. Woohoo! Your account will garner the high interest rate of 0.03. I said, wow, 0.03. Is that the best I can get? They said, yes, you can't get no better. So I went out to my car, pulled out my calculator, took the number 72 and divided it by 0.03. I got a number, and the number was 2,400. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting number. But if I apply Albert Einstein's rules to it, that means my money won't double to 2,400 years. And happily, the bank person told me that was a good rate, the best rate. And I'm not going to be around. My daughter's not going to be around. Her daughter's not going to be around. Her daughter's not going to be around to see that money double. But fortunately for me, I've learned, and hopefully somewhere along on our schedule, on our days, on our time with you, we can show you how to make that happen faster. As a matter of fact, you should seek out faster. So what about inflation and taxes? Typically they call it the CPI, and it runs, added together, it runs around 5%. So let's just say 4%, so I can do the math real fast. So 72 divided by 4 is 18, I hope.
You're right.
So that means, 5% is going to be faster than that, a little bit faster. So if I'm saving at 0.03 and my money's being devalued by the Fed by 2% and by taxes and inflation by 5%, boy, I'm in a losing battle here. So on any investment, and this is not investment advice, but on any investment, I need to be making more than 5 to 7%. Wow. So Dr. Jackie, I made a couple people sad. I want you to make a couple other people sad, and then we'll make them happy. Is that okay?
Okay, ladies.
And gentlemen.
You know what? I said ladies, and that was incorrect. So I'm going to start over again. Rather you heard Mr. Sawyer or not, he said, and gentlemen, that wasn't the word I wanted. Okay, spenders. That's what I want.
All right.
I want to talk to people who in your heart are spenders, who feel that you go to your job and you work diligently, whether you like it or not, and you make that check, and it is for you to do what you like, spend as you wish. So, Mr. Sawyer talked about compound interest, and he talked about going to your banks and finding out what your interest rate is. So what I'm going to talk about is going to that piece of plastic, that credit card, and let's find out the interest and the impact of compound interest on the spending, on the things, the toys that the gentlemen like, the toys that we give our kids, the toys and clothing that we give ourselves. Okay. So the first thing is, where do you find out the interest rate? It's hidden in all those papers they send you every month. It's hidden, but it's there. And if you can't find it, just call them. The customer service, they'll tell you, all right, what the interest rate is. So you using the very same formula, 72 divided by that interest rate. So you found a purse and it was on sale, and you think this is really good. It was a $200 purse and now it's down to $80. That's really good. Markdown. So you figured, yep, I'm going to go for it. And you make that purchase at 80 and you're celebrating what you're find. But we look at the flip side of your card. We call the number and find out that your interest on that particular card is 24%. So we're going to take 72 divided by 24, and you're going to get 3. So what does that mean? Mr. Sawyer said the formula is telling us how many years it takes for that to double. So you're saying, well, no, I'm going to pay on it. So that 3 doesn't matter to me, but they're looking at this number, and at every cycle, pay cycle, that you have not paid it off starts the doubling effect. If you remember American Express, which when it came out, many of us did not get, because their rule and regulation was that you pay it off in the month that you get it. And their month is not 28 or 30 days. Their month is actually 24 to 25 days. Little do they tell us that, but it is. But you need to pay it off. And if you don't, they start this compounding thing. It starts so that by the time you look at, what did I say, 3 years, the amount that you started out, that $80, has doubled to the amount that you owe. So the purse that you thought you were buying on sale, that you have been paying on, that doubling effect, now you're probably paying 2 to 3 times the amount of the purse, of your purchase price. So it hits us in ways that we don't even understand. because of the doubling effect. And that's what it compounds. Every time you don't, and so people say to me, I'm helping a friend who needs assistance, and she said, I keep paying more, but the next bill doesn't seem like it's any different than it was. It's like pennies different because it has doubled. Even in the cycle, not that it's doubled, but it has increased because they look at the amount that you have left and then they add the interest to that, not the fact that you've taken off some. So trust me, the system has been made for those who run the system. It is for us to understand the system so we can gain control of our money. That's part of the education. And that's why I'm a financial educator, because I know that we don't understand. That's why the money never goes down. That's why it looks like we're always paying the same bill, because we kind of sort of are. That's the same news.
Wow. So let me share something, and I'm going to speak more to like the amortization table that you would find like in a mortgage. And I was looking over one of my statements one day. This is for a property that I used to own, and I think at the point of purchase, I think the value was like maybe, let's say, $150,000 at purchase, but over a 30-year period, the compound interest of that mortgage, if I just paid the minimum per month, it would skyrocket to the amount of money that I would totally pay would be closer to $400,000 as opposed to the 150 that I started with. And I think that that's really, for the consumer, that's something that we really need to consider and understand better how on the I guess on the inside how that's actually operating, and how for the average person it's really even hard to understand and even see unless you really start looking at your documentation.
Yes.
So to ask a question from the consumer point of view to either one of you, what can we do if we found ourselves in a bad compound interest situation? What can we do in order to get ourselves out of it?
Well, once again, you've pigeonholed us into a specific part of life. You know, we typically look at the whole picture of your life in a holistic fashion. We can't look at one point, because compounding, man, that's your car, your house, your credit cards, your gas, electric bill. If you're not careful, if you don't pay it on time, they add a little bit on there. I mean, if we're not careful, it's every part of our life. If you have debt, somebody is taking advantage of compounding interest for their benefit. So the first thing that we do, Mac, and I don't mean to point you out like that, but that's part of our problem, is we find food missing in our kitchen and we beat the dog. You know, no, we have to find out exactly how the refrigerator door got opened, who cooked the, whatever. I mean, I'm being a little crazy here, but it's a holistic approach. And this is why we typically use a form like a personal financial strategy form, because sometimes it's very hard to find where the leak is. If you've ever been in a boat, or if you ever had a leak in your house, it's sometimes very hard, because water will go to the lowest point, but how it gets there, it doesn't care. It'll go sideways for a while. It'll go down the wall, across the floor. You might be in the basement and you see a leak in one part. It might have started somewhere else. And that is how it is with finances. Even compounding, well, I say almost any compounding that works against you is bad, and any compounding that works for you is good. But to try to stop one particular point of compounding really just takes not buying that object. But that might not be the best thing for you. You know, sometimes you have to take a bite. Like if you can't afford a $200,000 house, but you can afford the payments, you're setting yourself up to be in compounding for 30 years, 15 years, unless you think you're going to make more money. Um, Unfortunately, I'm one of the people who I'm not sure if I should pay my house off or sell it and get an apartment, because the compounding is not the only thing you got to worry about. You still got to pay taxes on them darn real estate for the rest of your life. So, you know, I'm not trying to make anyone mad in the real estate markets or anything. It's just been my experience. And I couldn't wait to get rid of my rental properties. I know. I gave away an asset. I understand. But the compounding on the mortgages is the issue. I have a friend that buys houses outright, and you know, that's great. That's more power to him. And I think that's probably one of the best ways to go. But Matt, to get back to the original point, is you have to look at everything, your school, the amount you owe in school, which is rough. Usually people have like 6% on their top of their school loans. And then you got to look at how much your 401ks or TSPs are making. And if they're making 4 to 8%, you're in the average range. And I say if, because at the end you're going to give away 32%, 35%. So what does it mean? And then if you just got to have those ostrich skin boots and they're $800 and you buy it with a 27% credit card, whoa. So it takes discipline. And like Dr. Jackie said earlier, we got to figure out which one of our toys is the most necessary. So now I limit my personal toys to anything I'm going to use doing business. If I'm not going to do business with it, I do not buy it. Okay, that's not true. I had to put on a serious face for that one. Yes, I still buy stuff because you got to live and you got your wants and your needs. Okay. But basically, I try to just do business things now, and I have simplified my life because every day on my cell phone is a commercial from some new gadget that's going to keep waterproof my roof, that's going to make my sink smell better, that's going to make the water go down in my tub even faster, that's going to make my driveway shine. And let me tell you, I need all those things. Or do I? See, that's the problem. Commercials are designed to make you need and want and go for it. But what about your family's future? GoFundMe is not a valid, I'm sorry, GoFundMe people, please don't sue me, but that's not a valid financial plan. There are many financial plans. I can't talk about anything specific because I don't know you. That's why we do a personal financial strategy. And through our associations, we help people free. Yes, I said free and no catches. To find the vehicle that can answer Mac's question for you. For each person it's different. I like fancy cars, but I found a way to, get them without paying a lot of money. I don't buy new cars anymore, 2 years old, whatever. I love music, and, I find ways to enjoy the things that I want, but I make sure I get the things that I need. And I know I took up a bunch of time, Mac. Your question was like so big, even though it was, pinpoint. And I just wanted to expand on it a little bit. So what do you think, Dr. Jackie?
So I was going to jump in with the fact that once the information is gained through the personal financial strategy, there is this foundation that we're looking towards helping individuals get and understand through our discussions here, through the education platform that we're working on. And we're starting with the foundation of solid protection. And we've talked about that on previous times. And the next step up is what we're talking about now, is the fact that we go with our wants, go with our needs, because we have to live, and we get in debt. And it's not necessarily that you aren't really looking at what you're doing. It's more an understanding of how much money you really have to work with. And we're going to talk about that at another time. But when you come to the realization that that $100,000 salary is really not what you have to work with, and that is part of the reasons why at the end of the month, at the end of your 2-week cycle, however it is you get paid, you still feel like you don't have the money. We'll explain why to you, but that is also why you are sometimes looking at debt. And so we talk about something called debt management. So it's not necessarily that you eliminate all, but you manage because you have a better understanding of what you're doing and how this will impact. And so Mac's question was, what do you do when you're in this situation? Work on how to manage it. And there are ways to do that. There are ways, once you have the understanding, to look at your spending and understand the kind of set up a system of attack where you feel like you are now in control of your finances. That's our goal.
Yeah, we actually, through an association with a company, we actually can offer you a free financial checkup through their portals. So whatever you need, we're here to help. Mac? I thought that was a good question, though, Mac. I just wanted to expand on it.
I'm trying to think like the consumer, so that's why I asked the question. And I'm glad that in your own way you both delved into the fact that you can't really isolate one particular thing, that you had to look at your whole portfolio and to determine, like you said, where are the leaks, what are the things that I really need. It's probably a good practice anyway, just in life, to just start evaluating, do I really need this item or do I need that item, and start to streamline things so that, to your point, Dennis, like, we still want to have some things that we want to have fun with, but at the same time, better to have things that are being productive for you, that are allowing you to be able to generate an income or protection, or like Dr. Jackie's favorite subject, to be able to help you manage debt management. So I'm glad that you actually went beyond my pigeonholing to expand that answer so that we can really understand that it's really not just focusing on one thing, but it's about the entire thing. So we're kind of at a point where I think we can wrap things up, and I wanted to give you both just an opportunity to just share any closing thoughts or any encouragements that you might want to give our audience.
Okay, I'll go first. There's a story by Will Smith. He said his father told him to build a wall. Your financial life and well-being is like a wall, but you got to start it one brick at a time. And it takes time. If you go cold turkey on anything, that turkey gonna come back to life and haunt you. So you do one thing at a time, and you don't backslide. and you start building up your financial wealth, and you could change your life.
All right.
And I would like you to kind of resonate with what compounding is doing with your money. So just for the fun of it, go to your bank. Rather you look it up or call or walk in. I mean, nowadays you don't walk in, but find out what your savings interest rate is. The only time you really think about it now is when you look at your tax, when they say this is your interest that you got, which they tax you on, by the way, that growth. So, but start to look at things so that you understand, okay, well, it's going to take how long? Look at your credit cards with an S, and find out what your interest rate is for those credit cards. If you have been paying faithfully, do one thing between now and the next time we're on. Call one of those credit cards and ask if you can have a reduction in your interest rate in that payment cycle. Because sometimes they have, oh, there's this bonus deal going on. Good thing you called now. But I want you to look at your credit cards and look at the ones that are high or low. Some might be 18%, some might be 27%. Then you'll think about the next time you pull that out and understand that in 3 years, that total will double. So,
Excellent. Excellent.
Before Matt goes, I think that thing you were saying earlier, Dr. Jackie, about if you're making 100, you don't really have 100 to spend. Once we do that, you'll know better what she's talking about. I'm sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
No, that's quite all right. All you need to do is to just look at a pay stub to realize what you really have to spend, and that in itself will humble a person to especially, and actually in this case, the more money you make, the more tax consequences
somebody takes.
Yes. So I've learned that the hard way. I've learned that the hard way as my income has increased. But again, guys, thank you so much for taking a topic that doesn't seem like it's really that important on the front end, but to really get into the weeds of it, to understand that whether, like Dennis said, whether it's on the positive side where we're wanting our monies to compound progressively from an investment point of view, but at the same time from a debt management point of view, to Dr. Jackie's points of view, that we should be working towards understanding debt management, understanding how compound interest works within debt management, and then doing some things to eradicate that so that we can, again, fuel the next generation. Dennis, Dr. Jackie, thank you so much. For Sonia, who's out there somewhere, we'll see you all on the next edition of this. But have a great rest of the day. Take care, guys.
Thanks for being with us.